If you know, fight or die well.
Next Imperial I see is dead.
Imperium dogs. There is nothing that's too low for them.
You join the Stormcloaks.
I don't want some snotty elf telling me what gods I can and can't worship.
What can I do for you? Aye, let's have a look. All right then.
A handsome bard once took my challenge of who could bed more maidens. He was a worthy adversary. We've stopped. What do you need? With pleasure, my lady. I am but your humble servant. Let's go.
Time to end this little game. I'll mount your head on my wall!
Stop that!
Milk drinker.
Taste my sword.
You'll pay for the...
Well then, that's that.
had enough of you! This what you want, huh?
I'm gonna twist that pretty little neck clean off. Yeah, you should be scared.
If you know any true sons and daughters of Skyrim, tell them to head to Windhell. Ulfric Stormcloak wants to see them.
With 3 beers down, the orc did frown and bid the elf goodbye. For none could know 'twas not for show, and someone had to die.
I don't want to hear another word about what you're learning from the Argonian. It's high time you learn to be a Nord, too.
You're the one that likes to sit about all day, aren't you? Thought you'd have better things to do. Damn faithless Imperials. Every one of them.
This
Seven months or so. Maybe 8 if I'm lucky. Oh, just counting the months I have left to live. I used to count by the years, and I suspect there'll come a time when I count by the days. It's a talent I have, sort of like reading palms. But I do long for the days when I never bothered to count. I'm sorry. I haven't properly introduced myself to you, child. My name is Iris the Elder, although it wasn't always meant to reflect my age. I was once one of 2 irises in the village where I grew up, long before I moved to Darkwater Crossing. One was about a dozen years younger than I, just a babe when I was a girl. So she was Iris the Younger, and I was Iris the Elder. And the name stuck with me ever since. Not the mine, that's for sure. I came to this part of Eastmarch for the hot springs. I've heard they have the power to rejuvenate. I'm not searching for a miracle or a cure for old age. Just a little more time to enjoy it.
And Arkephis thinks that we should go there. I don't want to hear another word about what you're learning from the Argonian.
Your
It's
words
high
are
time you
kind.
learn to be a Nord.
But a woman of my years is more of a nuisance than a helpful member of the community.
Farm.
I try to do what I can. Help cook or look after Refna. Oh, yes. I've tried health potions but it's almost like everything is being forced back into place. It feels so unnatural. That may be fine for someone like yourself, but I much rather prefer a good soak. All my aches and pains seem to float away. Good people and an eclectic group. I think Refna is quite blessed to be surrounded by such diversity. Keith's taught her how to swim, and I find it rather adorable how she's got. It's good to see young folk take an interest in such honest labor.
The Imperials think us all lawless.
Yes, if you're lucky, that might noble. But they suffer from a... The hunter's I need a bit of wine before... These. My may sound... And a woman likes to feel beautiful.
Hey!
And you... You're... I may not look it, but in my youth, I was also known as Iris the Swift, the fastest courier in all of Skyrim. Oh, yes. But they did come in handy. It was evening star, 2 hours to midnight. Me and the other couriers were at the inn, picking snow off our boots, ready to call it a night. The snowstorm that night was the fiercest in years, and the inn was densely packed. Not a soul in Eastmarch was outside that night, or so we thought. The door flung open to reveal a young Nord man, covered head to toe in thick furs and thicker snow. The innkeeper sat him down and gave him some hot tea. The blood was only now beginning to thaw from his nose. He began to mumble, softly but desperately, trying to form the words. His wife, he said, had just given birth, but the bleeding would not stop. He needed a special health potion, but the alchemist in Windhelm was out on research, and the next closest lived in an old shack west of Ivarstead. He wanted a horse, but the stable master had refused him. He tried to go on foot, but only made it as far as Kinesgrove. Not so. Had you lived through that winter, you would have known how fierce it was by the court. That winter claimed many men of much greater constitution than he. It was his love for his wife that brought him as far as he did. The innkeep, an old woman but one of conviction, took to pleading on his behalf. She went to warriors, to sell swords, but none would lend an ear. And so she leapt on the table and scolded them. This man's wife is in Candlehearth Hall fighting for her life, and he has not the strength to go on. Who among his fellow Nords will lend a hand in his time of need? Is there any man here willing to risk his life for a cause that is noble? The others shied away, but I stood. I am, I said. And without another word, I rushed out the door. I didn't know what pushed me more, my desire to prove myself, or my fury at the cowardice displayed by my fellow Nords. Maybe a little of both. Regardless, I braved the elements, the pounding snow and the unforgiving cold, to retrieve the potion and return to Windhelm. I lost a toe that night, and I still can't feel all my fingers. And for all my efforts, I wasn't even paid. But it was payment enough to see the face on the man's wife as she held her newborn. Greetings, child. Partly out of tradition. A horse, the courier, the recipient wouldn't even notice the... Nowadays, stamina, and if a horse... I don't know when horses became more valuable than people, but such is the irony of freedom. Farewell.
We've stopped. What do you need?
I try to think of it as coaxing the ore from the rock.
Saunders, does Hrafna ever mention your friend to you?
She hardly ever mentions anything else.
I'm just worried about what he's teaching her.
I wouldn't worry about that. Derkeithus is a good man. I trust him.
You're probably right.
Saunders.
You lost? It's a shame our daughter couldn't make the journey herself, but at least she still thinks of us. If you wouldn't mind bringing this back to her for us, I'd appreciate it.
We've stopped. What do you need?
Imperial dogs. There is nothing that's too low for them.
Not a day goes by that I don't recall living in that dungeon, and traveling with you across Skyrim is a gift I will always appreciate.